You got the intro. Get after it.
All right.
We started. We're live.
All right. Let's talk about the FCS bracket. Who's winning? Who's winning?
Get after it, buddy.
Get after it.
Who's winning?
You gotta tell people what's up first. What we're doing.
We're Jackrabbit Illustrated, and we're talking about the Jackrabbits.
Atta baby. There we go.
Yeah.
That's a good start. That'll work.
And let everybody know your name.
Yeah.
I'm McKinley. I'm the guy that's like I'm the nobody guy with like
you're not
like the guy that comments. Like the guy's name is nobody.
Yeah, he was commenting as nobody says.
Yeah.
Nobody. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm actually Vincent. Hey.
You've relinquished the power, Ben. All right. So we are the B team, brought to you by Jackrabbit Illustrated, part of the Splitting Hairs podcast group. That is also a part of the barking dog. At somebody showing up in my background. Part of the FCS Fans Nation podcast network. We are, of course, as always, brought to you by our title sponsors. Drake's Place in Bowdle, South Dakota. Place for the best pizza in South Dakota. I will die on that hill. The place with the best calzones, on and off sale liquor, and your normal convenience store things as well. But they are far more than a convenience store. That should be their slogan, huh? I think that's pretty
far
good.
More than a convience store.
Yeah,
we'll have to work on that.
Come up with a little jingle. Store. Yeah, you sing it. Anyways, and we're also brought to you by Cottonwood Coffee and Bistro in Brookings, South Dakota. Source of one of the best breakfasts in Brookings, as well as the best coffee in Brookings. It's also available in Walmart in Minnesota and online. If you want to order some online, use the code JI22 and get 10% off your order. Some exclusions may apply. But otherwise, as usual, it is me, Chad, and now Ben instead of McKinley. That was an awesome guest spot. But
that was awesome.
Other than that, we're starting a little late, a little wild, a little rowdy. I literally got home from work about 3 minutes ago, so I'm the reason we're late. So thank you guys for waiting.
And I screwed up the start time, so somehow.
Look, hey, I just let me take the blame on this one. I wasn't even gonna rag on Ben this time, so just let it go.
I was actually here on time.
And then you weren't
right on time.
I got here and you weren't on screen. It's just like
I was mixing a beer.
So,
you mix beers? I just drink them.
Oh
yeah. Sometimes you got to mix tomato juice and olives with your beer.
No, not if it's good beer.
What do you mean sometimes? You do that every night we have a show.
Yeah, well, it's a tradition.
It's not a sometimes thing then. That's what you do.
I was saying sometimes I mix beers, sometimes I don't.
But anyways, I want to shout out before we get into all the football stuff. First top 10 win in basketball history, and realistically in any program history outside. Maybe has wrestling taken down top 10 team before, Chad? Before I say this, yeah. So first top 10 win by the women's basketball team, taking down Louisville, beating them by 10 points down at the Bahama tournament. That is one hell of an impressive deal, especially in women's basketball with the how the talent disparity is in that. Huge things coming. I was worried they were not going to get back into the top 25, but boy, you get a win like that, and it's hard to argue that. So I wanted to give them a quick shout out before we dive into the bracket and everything else.
I'll have to go back and check it. What level Missouri was ranked last year when we beat them? That would have been wrestling's best win, but I don't think it was 10. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Awesome time of year where you got basketball and football overlapping and wrestling starting to get going too. Dustin, I think we're just gonna skip that one.
Shut up. I'm gonna stab Cardboard Rev in the crotch again. I swear to God.
The SDSU men's basketball team had a rough game against Stephen F. Austin. Seems like this isn't a basketball pod, but I'm going to give you my short spiel on the men's basketball team so far. Seems like they're trying to get their footing a little bit after missing some key pieces. By Summit League time, they'll be playing really well, but they're trying to find themselves right now.
Yeah. All credit in the world, too, to SFA. I mean, nobody wins in Frost, so you got to give them some props there.
Yeah.
Right.
good for them. I mean, that literally just doesn't happen. So that, I mean, even in our worst years. So that's a huge win for them. That's a good deal.
Yeah, people do need to know that, like, SFA basketball, that is a quality team. They're
They
probably
beat Duke.
worried that, they're probably thinking about their football team and thinking, man, that's kind of not a very good squad there. But
nice shade. Well done. That was some good underhanded shade there. I like that. The backhanded shade. Well done. Nice execution.
Yeah. Did SFA make the playoffs, Rev? Let us know.
Actually, you know what? They damn near did, because they beat
they win?
Abilene Christian.
Yeah.
They won the WAC.
WAC, right? Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought they won the conference.
They won the WAC off at the end of the year. So kudos to them. I have so many more entendres. I just stopped myself from saying that. So Matt, I think I get one of my fines back. I want one fine back for that. But it
doesn't make up for an F-bomb.
It could.
No.
You don't know what I was going to say.
You don't get props for not
doing your job.
By being myself. Yeah, and I want a trophy and a sticker. I want a gold star sticker.
How about
hey,
the Podfather's on with us.
Yeah, he's here. He already had the Rev spam comment.
Oh yeah, I did see that too.
But I mean, capping off the rest of the huge weekend. I mean, number 1 seed in the first time in a fall season, which is kind of like a weird statement to say. First time in a 2014 bracket though, so that was awesome. I guess personally, I wasn't necessarily. I absolutely think we deserve the number 1 seed if you look at how good the team is, but also on the flip side, when you looked at the resume, like you saw guys like Matt Frazee breaking it down, things like that. I think Sac State probably, if you're being really honest, might have had the resume, but we'll get into this with the committee. There was some there was some horse trading going on. You can't.
There had to be.
You can't, like, I'll let you guys go first before we really get into this, because there was some goofy shit going on.
Are you talking about Montana?
Montana, we were getting to host over UND, NDSU getting the 3 seed
numbers.
You know, and then some of the other seeds, we were not getting seeded and having Holy Cross or Incarnate Word over. Like, dude, there's a lot. When it all comes together, like, you could see there was some conglomeration going on, some conniving in the background. Like, because, Kyler Neal, we love Kyler. We love giving him hell. He's fun to talk trash with back and
Jacks,
forth. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
hey, he was wearing the Jacks hat during their show. So kudos to him. Yeah,
love's a strong word. Respect, maybe. Respect.
Yeah, we respect
Kyler.
I love Kyler. He's fun to drink with, but
I'm just kidding.
He likes us more than the Bison. I can say that much.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
it's not saying a whole lot.
I don't know.
Can't have the marker in Frisco.
But anyways, I do think there was a little bit of the setting it up for the potential of a marker game. I think Montana AD and the NDSU AD came together, and there was some horse trading going on there, and you get other conferences reps on board by going, okay, so we're going to give SAC and we're going to give NDSU the 3 seed, because that's going to line up. I mean, realistically, does somebody look at SAC right now and believe they're willing to put a lot of money on SAC making the semifinals after their last 3 attempts and facing seeds? The seeds they're facing going in, I think they're good enough to, but I don't know if I have more than 50-50 faith they're going to make it, which lands NDSU at home all through the playoffs again. So NDSU trades that for letting Montana in the bracket. And then they both trade having Weber not as a seed, but the carrot there is, well, they're going to get to, we'll make sure they host a game. And then on an aside, we get to shit on Montana State a little bit and send the team that probably feels like they should have beat them to them in the first round. When you put all those things together, I'm not impressed with what the committee did this year. They went way off script. They didn't use impartial arguments. They used very biased and subjective arguments that changed with every team. Like my biggest issue is everything changed with each team that you argue about. And there should be an overlying theme through the whole thing. Instead of, well, for this team where you have the committee chair saying something different about every team, that's not right. That doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue the 1 versus 2 all day, and then how they set it up. But I think at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because SDSU is going to be 1 or 2, Sac State was going to be 1 or 2,
right?
And then
absolutely.
Montana State and North Dakota State were going to be either 3 or 4, and either way, you're still getting the same amount of home games. And so at least that's the case. The interesting part about Sac State, and I think it lends itself to as to why they didn't get the 1 seed too, is like you look at, when people look at the bracket, like how many people do you say, oh, Sac State's going to be in Frisco? Like there just isn't a whole lot of respect for them. And it's interesting. And I think if I was Sac State, I'd feel slighted. I'd be like, hey, I just went undefeated in the Big Sky, which this year was the best FCS conference, and nobody's respecting us. And so, I mean, it's been interesting to kind of hear the reaction.
Right. We'd be wild if we were Sac State fans right now. Like if last year when we played Colorado State, if we ran the table and then ended up getting the 2 seed over a 1-loss Big Sky team, we would be wild. So I don't blame them for being upset about it. But guess what? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And SDSU fans were getting shoveled, and it's not wrong, but they're getting forced down their throats. Hey, 2's the same as the 1. 2's the same as the 1, and it is. I don't think the matchups are any different. You're absolutely right on that. I mean, if you flip Montana State to the 3 and you flip Sac State to the 1, we were still going to Montana State because that doesn't change your first round matchups and where they get fed. And then you're still going to Brookings. So I don't know what you want. And I get a kick out of the overreaction of what Montana State did to Montana. Not saying it wasn't impressive, because I think Montana's a solid team, but I also think Montana shouldn't have been in the playoffs. So in my opinion, it's like beating Illinois State by the same score. Like, is that super impressive to you? It's not to me.
Right.
I mean, sorry, if UNI schedule is better, they have the same resume as Montana. So all you big Sky guys who like to beat the UNI is overrated thing to death, look in the mirror at what you got going on with Montana for now.
Where do you think UNI finishes in the Big Sky? I bet it's higher than most people would think.
I mean, I think if you give them the schedule that Montana has, they end up with the same record.
At least.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I don't know if they beat Montana State. At Montana State. I don't know if we know they wouldn't beat Sac State because they lost the Sac State. Do they lose to Montana State by that much? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I hate the comparative thing like that personally.
Right.
But I think it's pretty easy to say that they would have at least the same record, and then people would be losing their minds about it if they're Big Sky fans. I don't know. So Montana gets all the grief they deserve right now.
And what was the best team Montana beat this year, Brendan?
Nobody. Portland State.
Just wanted to ask, because I don't remember their marquee wins.
I don't even know if they played. They didn't have any. That was everybody's point going into the bracket.
Right. Youngstown State had a similar argument, I'd say.
Right. I mean, if Youngstown State's name is Montana, they're in. There was a lot of Jersey. Like, I don't think NDSU in any form or fashion deserved the 3 seed. They just didn't.
No.
Why? Because they slapped UND at home like they do every year when it's in Fargo. Like, that shouldn't have surprised anybody or shocked anybody. Oh, wow, they played so well against UND. No, they didn't. They played them in the Fargo Dome. That's what they do every time they play them in the Fargo Dome. UND wilts like a flower and gets their balls kicked in because they don't run a defense that's set up to stop what NDSU does, and they're too stupid to change from it. and their gimmicky offense doesn't work against them. That's the way it goes every time.
And NDSU, really, their best games were losing to us and losing to Arizona, right? I mean,
right. It's
that's
the year of
their-
the quality loss when it comes to it. It was the year of the quality loss if you had the right jersey on.
Right.
and you had that history.
Because UC Davis, by quality loss and by having good wins, absolutely should have been in hands down over Montana. Because they had the same amount of quality losses and they had a better win. Like, if that's what we're going by, then you use it evenly. That's UC Davis, I think, absolutely deserved to be in.
And money.
And URI has a good case to get into, just like Joe and Sean went on about.
Right.
Money obviously had something to do with it too. I mean, they know Montana's bid's going to be big, and they know.
But then it didn't when it came to the UND game.
Oh man, that's the thing.
Yeah.
We all knew, right, that the some teams like Montana would always get the benefit of the doubt because of their bids that they put in, but it was kind of like a quiet truth. Nobody talked about it, and if you were overboard trusting of the committee, then it was just, oh, that's conspiracy theory. They don't do that. Well, it's out in the open now. They said, well, yeah, we knew Montana was going to put in a good bid. And then they try to backtrack. Well, we didn't look at the bids. It's like, you don't have to look at the bids. It's the same shit as, well, they're not in the room when they're talking about their own team. Oh yeah, because there's such upstanding, fine, unbiased gentlemen that they don't say a word about their own team to the other ADs outside of that. I mean, come on, man. Like, who are we kidding here? Can we be honest about what actually happens a little bit?
Right. Yeah, I mean, that it does suck for UND to, if it sounds like they put in a higher bid than Weber State and still didn't get the home game, which is how it's historically worked.
Right.
And then, I mean, I was surprised to see that it's actually in the criteria that it says there's enough in there that they would be able to give it to somebody that doesn't have the highest bid. But yeah, it kind of sucks for UND.
Well, my issue with it isn't that we all would love a 16 seeded playoff. So you see the top 16 teams,
right?
And then the bottom 8 seeds get a home game the first round. But if you're going to that should have the same criteria as a seed then, instead of subjectively, who do we think performed better? Like, that's such a vague rule. And when you've only used the bid for however many years. I mean, how many times has a bad team hosted the better team in the playoffs? It happens all the time. Nonstop. It happens all the time because the bid. So that's another time this playoff committee arbitrarily using rules that have never been used before. Yeah, they're there, but nobody used them before. I mean, what are we doing?
I think it's pretty telling that even Coach Stiggs spoke out about it a little bit on his coach's show. Tyler says, oh, you probably don't want to say anything. And Stiggs like, no, I want to say something about that. That's the first time they've ever done that. And we don't think that's okay. Like,
right.
That's a strong statement from him, honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, let's take a look at the bracket and how it shaked out for those of you. Yeah, Darren, great question. What do you think of our bracket? Let's look at the way it's set up for us. We've got St. Francis going to Delaware in the first round. The winner of that will come to Brookings on Saturday, December 3rd at 3 p.m. If you don't have your tickets yet, go get those. If you got season tickets, do the process that takes. Otherwise, go buy them.
Yeah, they're open for general public tomorrow, I think.
Tickets are $12 in our
they're
section,
open
folks.
Right now, even. You can get them now.
Okay, but I meant all tickets, including season ticket spots.
Oh, they're releasing the
They're releasing everything. Yeah, we had until today to buy it.
Gotcha. So yeah, go get tickets for that. So we'll see either St. Francis or Delaware. I think, and we can talk about this later when we get into picks, but I think that we're all kind of assuming it's going to be Delaware.
St. Francis got some big dudes on the line, though.
They're big, but they're They're not.
Maybe not fast.
Yeah.
Look,
Maybe
I
not
could,
fast.
They're
I could
wasty,
see
as
it.
Matt says.
I could see it happening.
Wasty.
You know, it reminds me of wasn't it Towson and Duquesne, and we ended up with Duquesne playing us because of
Yeah.
you know CAA teams. I think with more regularity than they like to admit, get upset by these NEC or Patriot League teams, and part of it is they get upset by them more because they play them all the time. But it should be said that they get. It's not like a every decade thing. I mean, JMU had it happen to them 5 years ago, and then that Duquesne game was what 4 years ago. So like this isn't a random thing. I could absolutely see St. Francis beating Delaware because their offense is so bad, but their defense is so good.
And it's possible, and CAA has a lot to prove this year. You know, we've heard about, you know, they've tried to say how good this conference is. They got quite a few teams in the field. We'll see how they perform. Jesse asked if regionalization is a thing this year. Yes, it is, especially for the first round games. After that, they do what they can, but there's just only so much they can do. Go ahead.
So the rule, if anybody's wondering, for regionalization is anything under 400 miles is a bus trip, and they try to maximize the amount of bus trips. But when you have a year where the Big Sky it's going to be harder to see as much regionalization for us, especially in the Missouri Valley, when you only have 3 teams in. Like, it's hard for them to justify pairing up 2 of the 3 teams in the bracket. And then when you have 5 teams from the Big Sky and 5 teams from the CAA and all the country in between them, and the fact that most Big Sky teams are more than 400 miles apart, I'm pretty sure, it makes it hard to truly regionalize the bracket outside of some of these matchups like St. Francis and Delaware. Once you get outside of that, it's hard to keep a regionalized bracket. And
so
I think
what you're saying is regionalization doesn't really apply to the Big Sky.
It's difficult for it to apply to the Big Sky. They've had plenty of matchups against each other, but
and I mean
it always applies when we got to go to Fargo, though.
Well, and it's the reason why Weber State's getting fed into Montana State.
It is the reason. I get it.
Ding.
Yep.
So
the other top 8 seed.
That's right. That's why it's so important to get those top seeds.
Yep.
So we talked about our first round matchup feeding into us. Our second round matchup would be either number 8 Holy Cross or the winner of Fordham or New Hampshire.
I'd say don't sleep on Fordham.
That game.
Tim DeMorat's a stud.
I mean, what's he averaging per game?
Per game?
Ooh, I'm looking it up right now.
Oops, sorry.
I mean, dude, he's got to be north of 400. He might be north of 450.
He's got to.
I mean, that's insane. Here, I got it right here. Here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Tim DeMorat. He's got 4,561 passing yards. He's 301 for 458, which is ridiculous. He's only got 8 interceptions to 53 touchdowns.
65.7% completion.
I mean, I don't care. Like, yeah, it's the Patriot League. I get it. But he put these numbers up against Buffalo, who they're not a great G5 team, but they're not Colorado State either. I mean, he's putting these numbers up on everybody. So they are a team that a team like New Hampshire should beat, but could also very easily lose to.
I think they played Ohio. Are you talking about Fordham?
Yep.
Yeah, they played Ohio, but
They played Ohio. It was Holy Cross played Buffalo.
But he did put up 500 yards and 6 touchdowns against Ohio.
Right. What?
Yeah.
He's averaging 414.64 passing yards per game.
That's pretty good.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Lindsey Scott's on a level too, though. That guy, like Dustin points out, he's ridiculous as well.
He averages per game more passing yards than NDSU's had this season.
Ohio, the team that he put up 506 touchdowns against, is number 1 in the MAC.
Right.
Which, I mean, say what you want about the MAC, but I mean, that's the point. Is that wasn't exactly a slouch team that he put up those numbers against. So with that in mind, what are your thoughts? I mean, obviously we'll get who we get out of St. Francis or Delaware. We kind of talked about that a little bit. What are your thoughts about teams that we would rather face coming out of Fordham, New Hampshire, or Holy Cross? I mean, are we thinking that Fordham's probably the least team that we'd want to face?
I would rather
in terms of that passing attack.
I would probably rather face Holy Cross.
Yeah, me too. They're more of a runner
than either Fordham, New Hampshire.
Well, I mean, admittedly, I don't know a lot about New Hampshire because they play on the Mickey Mouse network, and not like actual Mickey Mouse that's worth a shit. I mean, like
Flow Sports,
Bush League garbage network that isn't worth wiping your butt with Monopoly money and paying them with it. So I haven't watched a lot of New Hampshire, but I have listened about them and heard about them, and they had a pretty soft CAA schedule and kind of backed into the playoffs a little bit. But Holy Cross overall, I think they had close games against Bryant, man. Like, I think their resume, I'm not like furious they got a seed at all. I think that's legit, especially when they get a FBS win. But also, that's the game I would want because I think we can shut that offense down.
Yeah, well, that's actually another regionalization matchup there because Fordham and Holy Cross are obviously both from the Patriot League, and
which is weird.
They Holy Cross beat Fordham by 1 point, 53-52 in the regular season. Right. So that's another second round matchup interconference due to regionalization essentially.
Matthew Kelly brings up a good point. Sluka is a much better quarterback than the last time they came and played us in the spring of 2021. He's had a hell of a year as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting, I think the nationwide people look at our corner of the bracket, our quadrant, and say, oh, they're just coasting to the semis. I wouldn't necessarily say that. I mean, it's out of the options, we got a pretty good draw, but I would also say that it's not like these teams are slouches either. We talked about Fordham's got, I think they're the number 1 offense in the FCS right now, yards wise, and Holy Cross is undefeated. Granted, again in the Patriot League, but it'll be interesting to see who comes out of there.
Yeah, I don't think you can sleep on any of these teams.
No.
We're not going to be able to just roll your helmet out and win. On the flip side, I mean, to back up what I was saying, Holy Cross beat Lafayette 24-21 and Bryant 36-29. So they're not exactly cruising against some of the teams. I mean, when you pop on Lafayette's football page, it says number 1 graduating rate in the country, which, I mean, that's great. But also, if that's what you're bragging about when the playoffs are starting, it's not ideal. They went 4-7 in the Patriot League. So,
yeah, it'll be interesting if Fordham wins that first game. They may be favored at seeded Holy Cross, which
potentially. I think they'd seed them after they lost in overtime to them.
What's that?
He's saying favored. He's talking about betting.
Yeah. Would they? Sorry,
I'm
not
saying
seed. Would they?
The line would Fordham be favored at Holy Cross?
I don't think so because they already lost to Holy Cross.
Does it depend on how they win over New Hampshire, though?
Yeah, a loss is a loss is a loss, but
yeah,
it was at Holy Cross. I don't know.
Hard to beat a good team twice.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Fordham coming out of that little region there.
Yeah, I don't think it would surprise any of us. All right. Moving on from our little quadrant here, the other kind of quadrant on our half of the bracket is William & Mary is number 5 seed. They have Gardner-Webb and Eastern Kentucky the winner of those two. And then Montana State has the winner of UND and Weber State. In my opinion, I think the two most interesting matchups in the first round are the Fordham, New Hampshire game, and then this UND Weber State game, which we'll talk about the spreads later. But who do you guys see coming out of this quadrant to potentially, if we get that far, match up with us in the semifinals?
I got to go Montana State on this. The UND Weber State is a great matchup, but it's UND on the road.
Right.
I mean, if you've listened to us all year, all we've said is, oh, it's UND on the road. Never mind. It's just kind of how it goes. And they're just a whole different team at home. And if this was at home, I think I'd give them a chance. Yeah, Weber State hasn't exactly been a burner to the finish line, but they're still 9-2 in the Big Sky. They have an FBS win, right? I believe. Maybe not, but
Weber.
I mean, honestly, I very much could see Weber advancing past Montana State. But as for
I don't know
Neil Troth's comment, I probably Montana State on our half of the bracket is still the one that concerns me.
Right.
But on the same side, on the same token, talk out of the other side of my mouth, I love playing teams that are run first teams and run super heavy teams with this defense, because that's what this defense feasts on. They don't just like it, they thrive on it.
Yeah, no, I think that you'd have to say that Montana State is our, toughest potential game before Frisco. Weber State is also a good team. They have a good defense, but I don't think they'll be able to keep up offensively. William and Mary, I don't think they'll have the defense to slow us down. So yeah, I think it's Montana State. And it like Dustin said, if Weber can figure out a long snapper that can keep the ball in play, they probably beat Montana State, and they're probably swapped. Weber State would be seeded, and Montana State would be probably facing North Dakota in the first round.
Hey, does Siller? Hey, Rev, does Siller have any years of eligibility left? You might be able to give himself a deep playoff run for once.
Joe DeLeon put on a mustache.
That was mean. That was mean. Right.
I do see, though, potentially Weber State could squeak by Montana State, but I don't think that's going to happen the way Montana State's been firing on all cylinders. They certainly looked the part in the game, the Brawl of the Wild for the giant pile of poop trophy. So I think you can dang near pencil in Montana State into the semifinals. Bill and Mary, they're a good team. Potentially could give Montana State some troubles, but I think if anybody gets by Montana State, it's going to be Weber.
I mean,
that's my opinion. If anybody does.
People are putting a lot of stock into how Montana State finished. They finished against Cal Poly, who was a dumpster fire, and Montana, who just gave up in that game and took it in a big rivalry game. Other than that, it's 41-38 at Northern Arizona. And then the squeaker against Weber State. So I'm not saying they're bad. I think they're a very good team. Obviously, I said they're the team we're the most worried about. But Ron, he says Ron Lowney says the Cats had 150 more yards than Weber State last time we played them. Well, when they literally give you 4 drives, I think you should have 150 more yards probably.
And Patrick points out that they only won by 5 when Weber awarded them 8. So.
Right. So, don't get me wrong. I think Montana State actually in the whole bracket might be the best team outside of SDSU. I genuinely believe that. I think they're probably a better, if they face Sac State, I think they beat them. If they face NDSU, I think they beat them. If they face them on 1 week, but they're going to have NDSU with 3 weeks to prepare. So that we saw how that went last time.
A guy's got to wonder if Montana State has some long snapper voodoo doll or something, because, that's what broke Montana essentially when that ball went
Right.
into the end zone. They got the touchdown, and that was it, boy. That Montana didn't play after that. It didn't look like. So,
yeah, I mean, there's a reason why, if you look at the odds to win the championship, I mean, obviously the top 4 are going to be in there, but Montana State actually even has a higher odds of winning the champion, or better odds of winning the championship than NDSU does.
Yep.
Which probably makes NDSU fans a little butthurt, but I was surprised at how low of odds or how good of odds Sacramento State has. And that's what, again, like, if you look at odds wise, it's like, wow, Sacramento State is probably going to make it to Frisco. But if you talk to the FCS landscape, even just gauging, how the megapod went, it was just kind of like, yeah, Sac State, they're good, but they're probably not going to beat NDSU. So
Right.
it's kind of interesting seeing how the odds stack up versus the FCS people who actually watch the games every week and kind of can get a feel of the teams.
Yeah. This bracket's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
When you think, people have been bemoaning, oh, the FCS sucks, the FCS is down. I don't know. This is a really fun bracket. You get the possibility of, 2 out of 3 teams that we have never played. We played Holy Cross once, but 2 teams that you very, very rarely play. 1 team we've never played, and then the opportunity of playing another couple teams that we haven't played after that, or Montana State. And then on, like, the NDSU fans always complain, well, the bracket sucks, there's no good teams. Well, you get to play Montana at home, then you get a good Sanford team that you've never played, so that's a new team that you always bitch about the same teams being in the Fargo Dome. And then you get to go to Sac State where you've never been in a team you've never played. Like, I don't know why this isn't fun to people. I don't understand that part.
It'd be fun for me if we play St. Francis and then Fordham and then Will and Mary.
Right. That'd be cool.
I doubt it's going to happen, but
no.
So let's go ahead and just quickly glaze over the rest of the bracket. Chad, if you want to bring that back up. The other half of the bracket to see who we think is going to come to meet us in Frisco, hopefully. Chad, are you still there? There he is. So NDSU faces the winner of SEMO and Montana. It'll be interesting to see if Montana actually wakes up and does something with their gift of a playoff bid. And then Samford has the winner of the Fighting X and SLU, Southeastern Louisiana University. In that kind of section of the bracket, I'm interested to see, like I said, what Montana does. I'm interested to see how Idaho does. And then I'm interested to see, assuming that Samford moves on and potentially faces NDSU, I'm interested to see how they play in the Fargo Dome, because they have a good offense that could potentially give NDSU some problems.
They do. They have a great offense that could give NDSU problems most years, but this year their defense is much better against the pass than it is the run. I mean, and they still gave up some good, healthy rushing yards to UND. And I just can't see a team. And it'd be great if I was proven wrong. I'd be all about it. I'd probably buy a Samford Bulldogs hat just because I kind of like the logo anyways, if they pulled that off. But I have a hard time seeing a team their first time in the shopping mall going to NDSU and not falling apart. I mean, we've seen a team like that in Sam Houston go up there before and just fall apart over and over and over again. So until I'm proven otherwise, I mean, Samford, I'd say, has a 25% chance of beating NDSU. But I don't have a lot of faith in that 25%, if that makes sense.
Right. No, I agree. As May says here, NDSU did just lose, their best corner. That's probably debatable. They did lose a corner. NDSU, for those that don't know, have had some issues with guys heading to the transfer portal. and they're leaving early. They're leaving now, so they're just not going to play in the playoffs, which is a new thing. It's something that we haven't seen a whole lot of.
Yeah,
I
looks
mean,
like
NDSU fans are trying to sell it off as, and this is the best time to get your name out there in the transfer portal so you get picked up first. But I don't know that I'm buying into that.
I don't know. It is what it is. Did anybody here watch Samford? They're not Samford. They lost their D. Because did you watch them against Mercer? Did you watch that game? That game
No,
was
but we
lunacy.
got to see you watching
Yeah,
that stuff.
my tweets. Like,
Yeah.
31 points in the first quarter, no punts. I don't think there was a punt in the first half. I might have missed one. I mean, it was nuts. I don't know how anybody could watch that game and go, that's a defense that can go into the Fargo Dome and stop NDSU, quite honestly, more than once.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it would have to be a pretty high scoring game for Samford to pull that one out.
65-63.
Right.
I would be so drunk at the end of that game watching that because that would be an insane football game.
Right.
It'd be fun though.
For Brad's question, he says, why would you leave when your team is not only in the playoffs, but also playing at home until the semis? You know, I think it's just kind of the world we live in now with college sports.
Yeah.
Kids are, for lack of a better term, selfish. You know, these kids, like Chad talked about, it is technically the best chance that they have to enter the transfer portal early and get their name out there. And I think I saw something about how to be able to play in the fall, you have to be registered in the spring or something like that.
There's
Or
some 45-day thing, right?
There was
There's
an
a
advantage.
45-day window right now.
Yeah, 45-day window.
Yeah, well, and there's some advantage to be registered in the spring, if you're transferring. Registered in the spring at the school you're transferring to.
I think you can still play right away, but if you're there in the spring, you probably participate in spring ball.
Maybe
that
that's
would be
it.
A huge advantage.
Yeah, maybe that's it. That if you can register in the spring, then you can play. You can practice with them in spring ball, which is a big advantage. And I think schools are probably looking for that. And I'm guessing that's what these guys are seeing. The Rev says one of them left because of baseball, and there's that too. I mean, maybe they just football wasn't right for them. But again, like if you're leaving for baseball, you could probably wait until the end of the football season. But I don't know.
Maybe now's a good time to talk about what Jesse Royston's bringing up.
Yeah.
No.
So,
well, yeah.
I mean,
not in that manner.
It is. I mean, it's fun to see NDSU having a little bit of trouble with the transfer portal. Now, could we see that happen at some point? Definitely.
Yeah.
It's just the landscape of college sports right now.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that, we're holier than thou and we'll never see it, because we could see it too.
Yeah.
But there was some exciting news today. If you haven't been on Twitter, Mason McCormick and Garrett Greenfield both announced that they're back for next year. They're running it back, which is huge news.
The juggernaut's coming back. I want to be that guy when I grow up.
Absolutely huge news. Both of those guys have NFL prospects, and they both said that they talked to their people and they said, you know what, another year will do you good. And so they decided to come back for another year, their COVID year, due to the spring season that happened. But I mean, it's huge. Like, you get two guys like that back on a team that, we talked about how this team's just different and it's got a different attitude, and it stems from guys like that, veterans that have been there for a long time. And like McCormick's attitude, you can't replace that. Like it,
right.
You can get another guy that's got a similar demeanor, but there's only one Mason McCormick. And I mean, he makes a difference on our team, and to have him back for another year is absolutely huge. I mean, that's not even mentioning like he's going to help us on the O-line, and he's going to help O-line guys develop. But correct. I think the biggest part is just from the team aspect of, seeing guys like that come back and just keeping the team, like it's the glue that kind of bridges you from one season to the next. Like it's huge.
Not only that, I think he really brings a nastiness and sets the tone on the line. I mean, something
Certainly.
that you didn't mention, and that is a thing. You got to be that NFL caliber guy. You got to have nastiness. You got to play pissed off. We'll call it. You know.
Well, and say we do the have the fairy tale season, go through, win the national title. How much better do you feel about the odds of running it back when you've got a leader like Greenfield and McCormick coming back on that old line to anchor that? I mean, you're like, all right, now this is let's do this. You know, you're not feeling shaky when you got an old line like that. Speaking of the NFL, I think it was really cool how Tucker Kraft announced his draft hopes by saying, I just want to get this off my chest so I can focus on the playoffs and finish.
Indeed.
When you've got dudes in the FBS that won't even play in the bowl games because they're afraid of getting hurt. In a season he got hurt and turned down huge. That's a word, apparently. Huge amounts of NIL money just so that he could play here. I mean, that dude is going to be awesome. I hope he ends up in the first round, because if he ends up as a first round pick for us, that sends such a big message to the rest of recruits, guys looking to transfer, things like that. Like, yeah, you can stay here and you can still do this. And not that we haven't had examples of that in the past, but it'd be the opposite of when Mike Daum had that happen and he stayed, and then he's had a great Europe career and things like that, but it didn't quite work out in the NBA, where him turning down NIL money and then getting drafted and becoming a star in the league. I mean, that would be huge. And it already speaks volumes about the program.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Tucker, you can't say enough about the kid. I mean, he's a South Dakota kid through and through. Like, you can tell he just loves being a jackrabbit. He cares about his guys. He cares about the team. You know, we just got done talking about the landscape of college sports right now being these, you know, like I said, potentially selfish kids. And then you've got guys like Tucker Kraft, who, you know, just completely the opposite side of that, where team first guy, great kid, doing it for the right reasons. And, you know, he's still got his eyes set on the NFL, but he's, being there for his team when they need him most heading into the playoffs here.
But just think, if you're a local high level tight end prospect and SDSU offers you, and maybe you got the chance to go, I don't know, we'll say Wyoming, and we've had two guys drafted like Dallas Goedert and Tucker Kraft potentially, that could be a huge game changer for the quality of recruits we get, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
no doubt. And shout out to Tom Neiman. I think he was the one from Midco that did the Tucker Kraft story.
Yeah.
If you can go check that out. He did a nice little story on Tucker and how he's going to the draft and what his thoughts are on all that, and kind of some insights into his injury and stuff, which were interesting for us to hear, because sometimes you don't get that detail. So that was pretty cool to hear. Jesse's question of, do we have a great tight ends coach, or how are we turning these 9-man high schoolers into NFL tight ends? That's a good question. I think
we've had turnover at the tight end coaching position.
We don't have the same guy that we had when it was Dallas.
You know, I think it's just a matter of this kind of diamond in the rough that we got going in South Dakota, where there are these really good athletes, especially at like the 9-man level, where, you know, they may not be playing tight end at the 9-man level, but they're very good athletes. Right, Tucker's a quarterback, and they're really good athletes, and they're football guys, and then they come to SDSU, they get in the weight room, and then we say, you know what, you're the perfect size for a tight end. And then, you know, I think it's that, and it's also catching lightning in a bottle too. I mean, I don't think we can expect this trend to continue forever, but I think there's something to the talent in South Dakota that it's just kind of untapped a little bit.
Right. And I think there's something to be said too for the fact that, you know, you got a guy like Hines who also is going to get a shot in the NFL at 6'8". and resisting the urge to force that guy to be an offensive tackle because he's big and athletic. I mean, and I'm sure he'd have been a phenomenal offensive tackle with that frame, but allowing these guys to be in a position that makes him a playmaker and a game changer, I think is a willingness that some programs might not have.
Yep. Yeah, and like Ron says, small school guys get often get overlooked. Kendall says 9-man guys may not be scouted as hard, and that's true. And we have the luxury of being in their backyard and being able to, see them play often and talk to the guys that coach them, and get that kind of firsthand knowledge there that teams from far away just don't have the time to be able to dig that deep into recruiting. So we do have an advantage there. All right, let's finish out this bracket here. We got to get to our picks.
Right.
To finish out the bracket, we have a really interesting team. This quadrant is really interesting to me. Incarnate Words at 7, they get the winner of Elon and Furman. Sac State's at 2, they get the winner of Davidson and Richmond. Elon's an interesting team, for another one from the CAA and Richmond's the same way. That I'm really interested to see. There's 4 CAA teams in this first round here. I'm interested to see how many of them get wins, and then going forward, that potential Incarnate Word Sac State matchup. Incarnate Words got they could catch lightning in a bottle here and make it all the way to the semis. It potentially they've got the potential to do it. Brendan,
No.
He's shaking his head at me.
No,
but
no.
Do you think they'll get out of their first game against Elon or Furman?
I think Dr. Lindsey Scott is great. I also think I have no faith in a Southland team to advance deep in the playoffs if their name's not Sam Houston State.
Look what the Rev says.
I don't care what he says. He can say whatever the hell he wants.
Says Incarnate Word will make it this quadrant. He's on the same page as me.
They might, but I could see it. Honestly, I see Richmond just as likely to get out of that quadrant as I do Sac State, or as Incarnate Word. Between Sac State, Incarnate Word, and Richmond, I call it a toss-up. I'll take the taco bet, Dustin, and then I'll just take the taco bet. We'll go with that.
Isn't the saying defense wins championships?
Yeah, defense travels in the playoffs. Defense is what gets it done in the playoffs, and everybody points at that Southern Illinois game in the beginning of the year. Like, that was the same Southern Illinois team that beat Northwestern. Like, anybody that was watching Southern Illinois knows that was not the same team. And Southern Illinois was crazy hot and crazy cold. And when you're playing a team like Incarnate Word with the good doctor being the quarterback, if you are cold, he's going to murder you. And that's what happened. I just don't. They got to prove it to me. Them and Southeastern Louisiana. I have absolutely none of the faith in the world in both of those two.
Darren asks, how do all these CAA teams have good records? The bottom of the CAA is pretty bad. There's a couple 1-7, couple 2-6 teams. So they beat up on the bottom of the CAA, and then I think that their out of conference games, they had a not as a difficult out of conference schedule as some of the Missouri Valley teams did, I would say.
Oh, yeah. No, the CAA teams are notorious for being super soft out of conference, and that's why all their fans really try to hype up the Ivy League schools, because a lot of them play the Ivies in out of conference. And I don't think the Ivies are bad, but they're not what they're hyped up to be by the CAA schools either.
Again, it's interesting, we're talking about Incarnate Word potentially making out this quadrant, or Richmond. Again, if you look at the Vegas odds, it's like a no-brainer that Sac State makes it out of this quadrant.
Right.
We're not even talking about them making it to Frisco. We're just talking about them making it out of their quadrant. And, it's like, who other than Sac State will, because we don't think Sac State will. But if you look at the odds, it's like, well, they're the most likely team on that half of the bracket to make it to Frisco.
I think Sac State is the best team on that half of the bracket. And I also don't think they're going to make it out of that half of the bracket. I just don't. I mean,
and I think a lot of that is based on past performance too,
yes.
right? Like they haven't shown out well when they've been seeded, and I get that, but I also think that this team's a little different, and we could see them. I mean, I would love to see them make it out of this quadrant just to make NDSU leave the Fargo Dome.
That would be excellent.
Oh, I'm a
that would
huge
be
Sac
the reason
State
I would
fan.
root for them.
Yeah.
I want Sac State to make it to the Natty just because it would make NDSU go on the road. And we've historically, that's how you make NDSU not make it to Frisco.
Right. Dustin says if you look historically, the top 2 seeds make Frisco 80% of the time. So the odds are in their favor. Agreed. They also are in our favor, which is nice.
I think some of the doubt with Sac State too comes with like they should have lost that Montana game. Like they won because of a bad call. You know, they've had some close games this year.
Their last game of the year.
I mean, yeah, that was close, but I mean, we can't. I mean, it was close. No,
I mean, but Davis is a good team, right?
Davis is a good team. Yeah, I mean, so I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth because I've been ragging on Big Sky fans for doing. Oh well, yeah, it's just you barely beat Davis by a score. And I'm like, well, yeah, a little bit of perspective matters, but and like I mean, on the bell is Ron Lowney. Agreed, they've been squeaking by against good teams. Montana State squeaked by against bad teams, Ron. Northern Arizona is bad. I don't care how hard you claim it is to play there. SDSU got one of their first playoff wins at Northern Arizona, and that was a good Northern Arizona team.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
I'm just being a dick to Ron for no reason.
I know we
we
love to rag on Ron.
It is a good sport. I love having Ron on here.
All right, let's move on to the pick segment. I would quickly recap. I guess I'll just say I went 3-2. Brendan went 1-4, which brought me back within a pick. I'm 35-39. He's 36-38.
So I won the regular season.
Well, yeah, I don't know that it's.
I won the regular season.
Well, yeah, or he did.
Yeah, I mean, what do you get for winning the regular season?
He gets to watch me run the bases in softball.
Nothing. Yeah, that's a treat. We all get that though. That's a prize.
Fade
that everybody
these nuts. Fade these nuts.
Yeah, I guess we might have to rename the segment. You did still go under 500,
and I was so close too. And then
2 games short of 500. Yeah, this last week really screwed you. No, yeah, you
were we talking about a trophy for this at the beginning of the year? Like
he's got to wear. He's got to wear the kitty Ewu ears for headset for the pick segment.
Oh, that's what it was. That's right. Yeah.
That's
what it was. Next year.
Next year. Vehemently. Next year.
You got to put
next
it on.
year, but it's including playoffs. You don't get anything for winning regular season.
Oh, look at him go now! Look at him.
Here's the goalpost. Here's the goalpost now.
Okay, all right. Here's the deal. If we're gonna include the playoffs, you have to wear that headset for every episode. The whole episode
during the pick segment.
No, the whole episode.
No, not every episode.
So what?
Episode.
So we got to sit and watch you switch your Bluetooth or plug in for the
episode 1, first episode.
No, it's got to be more than that. I want this to mean something.
I feel like Dustin's right here. We did move the goalpost like the Tennessee fans.
We never said that it was regular season trophy.
Isn't that just understood?
No.
Like when does your fantasy league end, Ben?
It doesn't end in the regular season.
Oh, usually.
We're not going down that rabbit hole because
anyway,
I know what you both meant, and I'm not gonna.
I'm with Brendan on this one.
I think it should be the whole year. Are you scared? I smell fear all the way down here in Renner from Dells. It is a stinky cologne.
Are we talking like what are we talking like these just like pink headphones like these?
Yeah, except they got like kitty ears on them.
Like you'd see some Asian girl wearing. No offense to the
Yeah.
Asian girls.
How about the
Young.
first 2
and
or 3 episodes of the year?
Okay, you have to wear them.
I'm not sure what Ron means.
The
here.
Hobo Day episode, and yeah, I think 4 games.
4 games.
I think
Or
Ron's
Hobo Days.
or Dustin's got a good idea. Just put
Yeah,
it
we
on
can
a
make
poll.
it a poll.
There you go. Let
to
the
what
people
the-
decide.
They're
What
gonna
the
pick the
duration
worst
is.
one. Why would they have any incentive to pick anything other than the worst one?
Maybe they have something against Brendan and his pocket cheese. He's the stinky kid.
It doesn't stink as
All
much
right,
as
we'll go
Ben's
4
desperation.
episodes to be picked by the winner.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, this
Brad,
is the
I
picks.
don't know if I'm putting your comment up, bud.
Okay, and we get
Jesus,
one,
Don't do that.
and we got and here. All right, one caveat: if we're gonna do 4, and if it's only gonna be 4 games,
Mhm.
one of the games, the winner also gets to pick what is hanging in the background in your background during the podcast.
Okay, it has to be Podfather approved though.
I don't care. Yeah, well, I'll get it approved. Not a big deal.
Brendan's been working on the shake weight.
All right, sounds good. All right, here we go. Yeah, easy with that motion up there.
I was doing the thing.
I was talking about Chad's motion he was making.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's 2 shake weights.
Yeah, okay. That one's getting clipped.
That's called skiing.
No, that's down here, and you know that all too well.
Whatever.
No. Anyway, all right. Here we go. The pick segment brought to you by Shenanigans, the best place to watch away games, which you're going to have to wait until January 8th if you're not going to Frisco to watch an away game at Shenanigans. But you can go watch SDSU basketball games there. I won't recommend you watch any SDSU games there before Frisco because everybody needs to be in Brookings. But it is the best place to find Monster Moscow mules, as we found out, if you like those. All right.
Phenomenal. Check my Twitter profile picture.
Really good. All right. Quickly, Western Illinois covered. Missouri State covered.
Inside joke.
It is a good inside joke. That's why I got put up.
Western Illinois, Missouri State, UNI. Oh, UNI put up the 50 Butterburger against USD. That was fun.
Yeah.
The Culvers of Brookings and Watertown, 50 Butterburger.
Yeah, the 50 Butterburger.
Let's talk about it.
To not send Nielsen out, which was a surprise. Huh?
Yeah, that was weird. Like you thought, it's like, oh, there's Nielsen news. I guess they finally fired him. Oh, no, they extended him.
How much? But we haven't seen the terms of the extension. How much do you think that's just a smoke screen so they can wait until July, have everybody locked in, and then get a new coach? Because they could potentially do that.
There's no way they pull the rug now before next season.
His contract runs until June, the end of June. July 1.
No, I'll guarantee the contract is structured such that one more year, and they have no guaranteed money after that. But
yep, that's my guess.
Yeah. Anyway, congrats to UNI getting the 50 Butterburger. That was awesome. At USD too.
Theo Day definitely balled out.
Yeah, Theo Day he's a stud. And congrats to USD, by the way. They put out some attendance numbers. USD was in the top 50% of attendance in the whole FCS. So good job.
50% of their dome there ever. And it's a small dome.
Well, according to that statistic, they did. But anyway, no, their attendance was not clear. Being in the top 50% of the FCS is not a good thing.
I mean, good for their fan. I mean,
we did make it
buy so many tickets.
Right. We did make it to the top 10, so that was pretty cool to see. All right. The rest of the games, Youngstown State covered. They won their game like they were supposed to, but didn't make it to the playoffs. And then NDSU whooped up on UND 42-21 at home. All right. Let's rattle through these first round playoff games here.
All right. I'm ready.
Elon.
I'm taking notes because I feel like there's been some shady dealings for you to get ahead of me here.
Jeez. Elon goes to Furman. Furman is a 5.5 point favorite. I will take Elon in this one as the underdog.
Right on. So you're taking the points. I'm going to go ahead and take Furman just because I think that the home field advantage matters a lot.
Yeah.
This is funny. Something I forgot to bring up with Elon and Furman playing each other, and then UND and Weber playing each other. It's the battle of the former conference mates going on in the first round here.
That's right.
Elon used to be in the SoCon, and obviously we know the Postal Service used to fly to the big sky.
Right. The second game, Davidson goes to Richmond. This is the biggest spread of the weekend. How big do you think this spread is?
36 points.
24. Oh. Richmond by 24, and I think I'll take Richmond here.
Yeah, I concur. I'm taking Richmond on this one.
Okay. And then we've got the game that feeds to us. St. Francis goes to Delaware. Delaware is favored by 9.
Ooh. That's a spicy meatball.
Brendan's spicy meatball of the week.
It's a little better this week because it's not so crappy.
I got the Mike instead.
Brendan's spicy meatball of the week is Delaware -9.
Brought to you by Dakota Iron because we forgot to do them. These were bad people. We should feel bad. But go to Dakota Iron.
Well,
I had them on the ticker.
We didn't have a game recap.
Right.
But we can mention them.
Something.
If you do need something, if you need heavy equipment, go to Dakota Iron. They're awesome.
John's a good guy.
Dakota Iron
bad. We should feel bad.
That's right. All right.
Sorry,
so
John.
Anyway,
I blame Chad.
I had it on the ticker. Ask anybody that was watching, paying attention.
I'll take St. Francis +9.
STFU. At the +9, yeah, I hate you for taking St. Francis. I wanted to do something different, but I guess it preserves my lead, so I will also take STFU for the points.
Yep. Then we've got Fordham going to New Hampshire. This one is a pick'em.
Oh. I am going to go with the not trendy upset pick. I'm going to go Fordham.
I think I got to go to Fordham too. I don't know that New Hampshire is going to be able to slow down that offense enough. I'm not sure. Ariel is asking where are they playing. I don't know who she's talking about there. I have to clarify.
That was the previous pick.
They're playing at Delaware. St. Francis plays at Delaware. Is that the one she's asking?
Yeah,
about?
They play at Delaware.
There you go.
Dustin's taking St. Francis with the points. So
nice.
Mark him down.
That's in Durham, New Hampshire, isn't it?
Dustin's playing along with us here. He's picking all the games.
I'm not taking your notes, Dustin, so you keep track of you being worse than us.
And then we've got Gardner Webb going to Eastern Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky is a 3-point favorite here. I will take Eastern Kentucky in this one. This one might be my. I feel pretty confident about this one.
This is my Dakota Iron lock of the week.
Right. That's what we should have. Dakota Iron lock.
Huh? Dakota Iron lock of the week. I am a marketing genius and I'm out fixing robotics. This is stupid. What am I doing?
Love it.
I could be Mad Men.
All right.
EKU all day.
Yeah, I was surprised by the spread.
Did you watch? Did anybody watch NCAA and Gardner Webb? Because my only thought was our defense could beat these guys by themselves. It was not good football in the Big South. Maybe it turned around in the second half, but they both. The only way either of them had scored is they had turned the ball over in their own red zone, and it wasn't like, damn, those are great defense. It was like, damn, those are really bad offenses.
Right. Granted, I don't know how good EKU is either, but
They have an
Have that.
FBS win.
yeah, they do have that. How did they? And we don't have time to go into that whole conglomeration of crap.
Conglomeration of crap.
And Jacksonville State's trophy they had. That was. If you want more info on that, go watch the Mega Live Pod.
Yeah.
They talked about
Yeah.
that.
The
at
faux
length.
trophy.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll take Eastern Kentucky there. The Fighting X, Idaho goes to Southeastern Louisiana, and Idaho is a 3-point dog. I think I'll take Idaho in this one. I think Eck will pull out some of his tricks and get the win here.
I hate you. We picked the same the whole way through this,
Except for Elon and Furman.
Oh, there's the deciding game: the Paladins versus the Phoenix. It's like a Harry Potter book. The Harry Potter game of the week, brought to you by possibly you. I'll take Idaho.
All right, and then we've got SEMO, Southeastern Missouri State, going to Montana. What do you think the spread is in this one?
28.
Whoa, that's really dumb. There's no way.
What do you
That's
got?
a dumb spread if they did that. I'm putting all my money on SEMO. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.
I'm just thinking
Montana
the committee
by
thinks they're going to
4.
throttle him.
Montana by 4. The spread is Montana by 10.
Oh, SEMO.
I'll go opposite on this one. I think Montana, they don't have any great wins, but they also the wins they do have, they won by a lot. Yeah, I think I'll take Montana there. Spread is 17. Did that change? Hang on. No, we're not.
I think that might have
we're not
been the
gonna change it at
previous
this
game.
point.
I think that might have been the previous game.
Get your acts together.
I
boys.
don't know. He'll have to tell me which game he's talking about there because I don't see the spread of 17. But anyway, last game we need to pick is UND goes to Weber State. What do you think the spread is in this one?
Weber by 15.
It's Weber by 13.
Wow, I was way closer than I expected.
It's higher than I expected.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the postal service, and it's gonna hurt me for it. I'm sure.
That's what I think you have to, right? I mean,
With that big of a
points?
line,
Yeah,
and
with the point.
it's a large line.
I did see the Postal Service 360 account posted like the last 5 games at Montana for UND, and they were all like 3-point games.
Yeah.
So with Montana and UND, it's interesting because it's going to be curious to see if they bounce back from getting their balls handed to them by a rival or not, or if they just completely fold if they go down by a touchdown.
And they're
Right.
on the road, like Tony
Right.
Hummel points out.
Right. So I'm still taking UND. It's Weber by 13.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I got you on record now. It's official.
All right.
Yeah, Shane. This is what we're gonna do, Shane. It's a book, dog.
Are you writing down the terms of the bet on it? Because that's more important, I feel like.
Ooh, I should. Yeah, I'll write that.
I'll
on my
document that on the spreadsheet. But anyway,
allegedly.
all right, we're bumping up in an hour 15 here. Do we need to talk about anything else before we go?
Did you pick UND like officially?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have 2 games that matter this weekend
Yep.
when you're at my house, and
Elon and Montana.
yep.
I don't think I've heard anything about Adam Bach, but it would be nice for him to come back.
Boy, wouldn't that be damn skippy? That's
Man, Stig
Man.
came out and said that on the selection show. He's like, yeah, we're potentially getting Bach back for the first game, but sometime in the playoffs, which is, we haven't. It's been pretty quiet on that end, and that was awesome to hear because that I mean, we've been playing well without him, but that dude is probably the best linebacker in the FCS, and to have him back for the playoffs would be amazing.
I mean, I'd go so far as to say he's a difference maker.
Yeah.
Wow, way to go on a limb, buddy. Jesus Christ.
I was just trying to use the term
my God.
difference maker.
There you go.
Like difference maker.
Yes, yeah, I know. Yeah, but I would say he is crucial for the Montana State and NDSU matchups. I think that's where he will be the most critical. So having him at full speed for those games, because if he's able to be back for the first round of the playoffs, he should be well at full speed. Well, as close to full speed as he's going to get for Montana State and then a natty. So that is such awesome news to hear.
Right. Yep. All right. Well, outside of that, I think that's all we got for now.
That's all, folks.
Buy your playoff tickets, and we'll have another podcast next week.
Yep.
Which will be previewing the first round playoff game, or well, I guess second round playoff game, but first game for us.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Drive safe if you're having, and have a bunch of good food. Other than that, go big, go blue,
Go Jacks.